welcome everyone. Welcome to Nifnex TV. As you know, Nifnex TV is about helping small businesses with their challenges that they face on a regular basis. One of the big challenges that we have on an ongoing basis is financial goals, or actually goals this financial year. So we've got a fabulous panel. We've got a financial planner who's also a basketball coach. We've got a transformation coach, and we've got a courage ambassador. So you've got a fabulous panel. Welcome, and welcome audience. So now, can we just go around introducing ourselves, and then we get straight into the case study and address it? Can we start with yourself? Sorry, now Hemant?
Yeah, sure. You go first if you want, Conrad.
Okay, Conrad.
I'm Conrad Francis, and I run Inspired Money, which is a financial planning practice based in West Perth. Have that practice for the past 3-4 years now, but I've been in finance since 1992. I also, as Ishan introduced, am a head coach for a women's state basketball league team, which has been my first appointment at a head coaching role. And so goal setting and limiting beliefs is obviously something that I've worked with for a long time with clients and also athletes.
Brilliant. Alicia.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Minkveld and my company is Radical Consulting. I have been an entrepreneur for the last 16 years, and so far, well, to date I've lived on 3 continents. We'll see where life takes me next. I have a marketing business, and I'm also an inspirational speaker and a coach, helping people to find the courage to go for their dreams and to live the life that they want.
I'm Hemant Chavda, transformation coach. Transformation coach because I started as a pharmacist myself, lived in England, born in Zambia, and transformed many parts of my life to live the life of my dreams right now. And really it's about taking people from where they are to where they want to go in the most effective manner, using what we developed, the conscious samurai, which is, in the journey, body, heart, spirit, mind, and flow. So when you get to your destination, it's really the impact that you've had on the people along the way. Have you enjoyed the journey? Do you feel fulfilled? Or like me in the past, I hated life, and now actually absolutely love life. So hence the transformation coach.
There you go, this is going to be exciting. Conrad, can we start with yourself to address the case study? As a financial planner and as a basketball coach, what are the important steps that people need to take to sort of address their goals to start with?
I mean, goal setting is fundamentally obviously trying to map out a journey to get to a destination, and that happens in finance circles, and it happens with sporting teams. And so having a clear set of goals and using processes to come back to and reflect on and guide you is important. So measurable, succinct, concise and measurable goals are important, both in the short term, medium and long term, for both finance and basketball.
Okay. What's your take on this from a courage perspective, Alicia?
I obviously agree about the goal setting and that they need to be specific and measurable. From a courage perspective, I would say that courage and commitment for me is the magic force that will give you the success that you want in your goal setting. And it's the courage to actually go for those big, hairy, audacious goals, okay? Like, what is the biggest vision that you have for your business and for your life? Then think about it and write it down. And if you're not really sure what that could be, normally a good question to ask to prompt yourself would be, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail and if money wasn't a problem? And whatever comes to mind, just write that down. And then, because once you know what you want, the how will sort of sort itself out along the way with some action steps.
So where does the courage come in? So, you're actually going after it and changing your mindset?
Well, absolutely, and obviously Hemant would be a great person to speak about the change that you would need in yourself, because everybody that has ever gone for a big goal in life knows that it's scary. And if that goal equally excites you and scares the living daylights out of you, then obviously you know that you're on the right path. But it takes a huge amount of courage just to put pen to paper and actually admit that that's what you want in life.
Oh, yeah.
And then from there, obviously the real courage will come in to make the changes in yourself that will allow you to achieve that.
Yeah, I mean, once you've moved from South Africa to Australia, right? Big step. I remember moving from England to Australia, and there is an element of fear. If someone tells you they don't have no fear, and that's BS. I mean, fear is there, but it's about facing the fears and actually just breaking through those and seeing it as it is, but not worse than it is, but better than it is. So in this journey, you've got the goal, and then the steps to get there. So I believe it's not the goal. It's once you set the goal, and like you guys said, setting that audacious goal is really important, yes, because it steps you not out of your comfort zone into your growth zone. Once you're in your growth zone, then who do you become in the pursuit of that goal? That's the most important part. So my early days, you get to the goal and think, boom, but I'm not there for my kids, for example. Or I'm not talking to my wife. That didn't happen, but you're not talking to your wife, for example. Or your health suffers. What's the point? What's the point of the goal? So the point is, when you get to the goal, when you get to your destination, the goal doesn't become the priority. That becomes the second. We believe that the first part is who you become in the pursuit of that goal. So when I say body, eat, sleep, play, breathe, hydrate, visualize. So are you full of energy, or on caffeine, and getting a bank loan and stuff like that, or heart, is your relationship suffering in the process? Then what's the point of the goal? Mind, are you nourishing your mind, or are you worrying and being stressed, and you go to the doctor and you got blood pressure and so on? Are you in flow? Do you enjoy what you're doing in the process of the goal? There's been goals that we set up a business in Dubai, and I was like a year down, 60,000 pounds later, I was like, what am I doing here? Why am I even doing this? I didn't even enjoy it. What was the whole point of it? And they're the mistakes we don't want our clients to make. And then spirit. Carl Jung said, of all his patients over the age of 35, the ones who never took on a spiritual dimension never fully healed. So for spirit, for me, is the inner strength. Something inside that pushes you through and says, you know what, I can do that. But one of the tools we utilize is firewalking. It's one of many. Firewalking, glass walking. It's not about ego, it's about saying, you know what, that fire in my life, in my relationship, that fire in my life, in finding my flow, that fire in my life, in connecting with my kids, they don't understand me. My kids aren't teenagers yet, but I've got some challenges to come there. so it's really about who you become in the pursuit of the journey, I suppose holistic goal setting, looking at all those aspects. So that's I just want to give that put that take into it.
That's a good point. Sorry.
No, I was just going to add. I mean, just a further point from goal setting and addressing courage and fear. One big thing that I've utilised both in both basketball and in financial planning in the office is the term accountability. And you talk about writing the goals down. We take it another step further. Obviously, is to physically write it down and visualise. Obviously. Yep. But then share them openly. There's a lot to be gained by sharing your goals with like-minded people. Not only do they buy into your process and they understand what you're going through, they might also be able to help you achieve them through their own experiences and conversations and connections. What I find is that with a lot of people, that level of accountability isn't there. They're not. Some of them obviously struggle to write them down and conceptualise, let alone want to be able to share that with somebody. I think if anybody here that's watching, or even in the crowd that think that goal setting, just writing it down is a step. I think that the real step is to share, and that's something I've learned from a variety of sources is to share those things.
I completely agree with that, and for me, just to add on to that, is I think you need to choose carefully who you share the goal with and who you choose as support. Because
so don't put it on Facebook or saying.
No, put it on Facebook if you want. All I'm saying is for the accountability part, what I have just found is that there's a lot of people and they tend to project their fears onto you. So if you are actually going for one of those big audacious goals, people might be afraid for you, and they become, in a way, sort of the naysayers. And so when I have big goals, I have really a handful of family, friends, definitely entrepreneurs in the mix that I trust, and that I sort of know if I have an issue, I can go to these people. They will keep me accountable, but they will also give me the right advice and support me, like you said.
Just on that though, Alicia, you have your personal goals and you got your business goals. I'm sure you have your clients who come to you for inspiration and courage, and asking you what should they be doing. Would you sort of suggest them to keep a personal goal and sort of tie it in with business, or would you sort of say, well, these are business goals, these are personal goals, try to keep them a little separate? Or what would you suggest? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
no, it's good, I guess. In the hot seat. I believe that all goals are interconnected, okay? And for me, it all personally starts with why.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Why am I doing what I do every day? And you can't actually separate, for me, my personal goals with my business goals, because they all one. Why am I here? I am here to spread a message of hope and inspiration to as many people as I can, and that obviously impacts my life. So I'm sure Hammond has a wheel of life or something like that he uses, and even when I work with my clients, we look at the wheel of life and we sort of go through each section so that we know exactly where are the areas that goes really well, where are the areas that I can maybe improve on a little bit, and we sort of rate them out of 10 when we start. We set goals for each one of those areas, and then we revisit quarterly to sort of see how it goes. What's your thoughts?
Hammond, you talked on a couple of things earlier, and about different facets of what goal setting means in your process. I think success obviously becomes a point of difference for lots of different people, and understanding success and what that means to you also becomes a point of goal setting. And if you make success obviously as what you are as a person growing into, then the old adage, it's the journey, not the destination, becomes fulfilled. And that's something that I think is extremely important. Is how you become and how you grow through the process. Because sometimes we get too consumed about the end, and we forget about how we got there. And I've got numerous amounts of personal experiences and I was just talking about with James earlier about focusing on the target and forgetting what it took to get there.
Yes.
And it really is just it's a fundamental flaw in human character, I think, just to get distracted. But yeah, I think the gems are the steps you take on that journey.
Have you ever lost something, and then all of a sudden you're looking for your keys, and then while looking for your keys you find your sunglasses and you think, oh, that's where they are. So in the same way, when you said that journey, you're on your journey and you find something else in that journey, and that's the beautiful thing about it. But not only that, you mentioned about telling people, but also when you tell people, it's actually I know, I met Conrad the other day and he was looking for someone, I met Paul today, and I said, I know a client who's looking for a patent attorney, and it's a little bit like that, because when we're all connected at some level. So yeah, the sharing is really important, but also, you guys are talking about sharing. People hold you accountable and hold you to a high standard. People who care about you will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're around people, and before we left Australia, it was like, don't go to Australia, and you're crazy, and you're this. And they're planting seeds in your brain, and if you accept those seeds and you say, I'll accept that seed, and you water it, you start having guilt. And then you start maybe thinking, was that the right decision or not? Maybe so-and-so is right. And you ponder in that muck and doesn't get you anywhere. So really, I think someone else said this, I don't know who, but they said, excuse my language, but all the can I say an S word? The shit that we go through in life, we can use as manure. That becomes our manure for growth, because those challenges, those problems, when we have a problem, we have to find a solution and bring out a part of us to overcome that problem. And when you bring out that part, you overcome that problem, and you think, you know what, you've become something even better. And when you're hanging around people like these guys here, and you're sharing your challenges with them, and your peer group is one of the most important things. Tony Robbins says that again and again. He goes, I'll tell you the secret to success is your environment, the people you surround yourself with. Mark Twain said, show me your friends, I'll show you your life. And I think what he meant by not only your friends, but the people if you're playing Candy Crush, I keep inviting Candy Crush on my thing. I was like, had a life, or are you watching the news all the time? Bad news sells. What are you reading? What are you listening to in the car? What are you saying to yourself? While you're driving? Are you saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm going to be late, or whatever? Are you saying to yourself, all I need is within me now, or every day and everywhere I'm getting better and better, or now I'm the voice, I will lead not follow, believe not doubt. What are you saying to yourself? All those things matter. Yeah.
I sometimes use a negative thing as a positive or a challenge for myself. If someone says you can't do something, I go, no, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to show you can make it work. That sort of works for me. But Conrad, I had a question for you about how we can actually tie in the sports with business and the goals, because sports people are very sort of energetic and hardworking, and not all business people are. So, although they're meant to be.
I guess when you look at successful businesses and entrepreneurs and the like, or individuals, I think they share a lot of the similar characteristics as successful teams and athletes. A lot of it is, it's potential and talent, are dirty words that I use a lot, but neither guarantee you success. Kevin Durant, who is an NBA basketball player and plays for the Oklahoma team in the States, and he recently won the MVP trophy, the most valuable player for the league, and he's famously quoted as saying, talent guarantees you nothing. It's hard work, and fundamentally that's part of the puzzle. Is we've all got individual talent and an enormous amount of potential, but it's the hard work that you put in to bring those to the front, both in the office with yourself and with your teams, and with your sporting teams. And I think, again, from an accountability perspective, you can't ask anybody to do anything if you're not prepared to do it yourself. And that's leadership, I guess, and that's probably not part of this topic, but that it just ties in with the synergy between both things. I find it very easy to coach a basketball team and to coach and to work in the office, because the techniques used are very similar, and it's all driven by the same types of talent, the same types of people.
I would like to add to that, and just sort of say that for me, I always tell people that it's not about talent or luck to succeed, but it's about making that decision, choosing to succeed, and then committing to that decision. For me, courage and commitment is pretty much the magic force that will help you to get to your goals. Because if you committed to a goal, really committed, and you would obviously know this from coaching sports teams, nothing can stop you. No matter how hard it gets, no matter what obstacle you face, you will actually just power through all of that because you're so committed to your goal. And it sort of reminds me of the fable of the chicken and the pig. Which is
I'm sure you share that with us.
I'm sure I will. Well, the chicken is involved in providing breakfast for us because it provides an egg, okay? Whereas the pig is completely committed to providing bacon for us for breakfast, okay? And he is sacrificing himself for giving us breakfast, okay? And so my question to you is, in your business, are you a chicken or a pig? Okay, because if you're only slightly involved with your goals, I'm sorry to say, but then you're not really going to make it, because then it's sort of just like when the first obstacle comes along, I'll just give up. But if you're committed, and if you are sacrificing yourself, as James is showing me there, if you sacrifice yourself, don't kill yourself though, then you will definitely get to your goals.
Fabulous. Does anyone want to share a client experience with the goal setting, transformation, or courage, or planning?
Yeah, I've got a great one. I've got a client that has been around with my business and myself for a few years, since she was 24 years of age. She's now 31. Came to us with the typical goals in mind of saving for a house and becoming financially secure in retirement, and those fundamental goals that are ingrained into us as kids growing up. So philosophically, I challenge everybody about where they sit on those goals. And I think the RBA helped me out the other day by saying that renting is becoming more popular, or probably numbers-wise looking more fundamentally the choice that we should be considering, opposed to owning a home. And that's the path I've always had. So I challenge this young lady to move away from the goal of saving for a house, but just the goal to try and reach financial independence. She's now 31 years of age. She started with $20,000. She's now got $350,000. She doesn't own her own home. Fundamentally, if she moves on the same path, she'll end up with $1 million by the time she's 40. And I would think that's a magnificent, massive step towards financial independence and giving herself more choice as to what she does. Now, that's probably 1% to 2% of my client base. Okay, sadly, that's the case, because as James and I talked about earlier, whilst we can invoke some sort of change on people, unless people want to change themselves, they will inherently draw back to their own previous, thought processes and behaviours. Yeah. And so, I find your jobs or your careers and paths interesting, because I'd love to see the level of success that's there beyond the first initial impact. So that's a great story for me.
Fabulous, it is. Does Alicia and Heyman, do you want to share something before we go into a Q&A session?
Yeah, actually, very quickly. You're talking about visualization, and I think in sports there's much studies showing about visualization and success. And there was a study that showed that when you draw your goals, when you actually draw them, it's like writing them out 100 times a day for 30 days. And it taps into the power of the unconscious mind. Bruce Lipton showed that the unconscious mind is, at least 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. So, if you have a goal, then draw it out. Vision boards are great, but actually physically draw it, because you're ingraining that into your unconscious mind. And that just little tweak with clients has made a massive, massive difference. And the other thing is, we always ask at our events, especially the Firewalk, what's the one thing, and I'll ask you today, what's the one thing that will make a massive difference in your life? The one thing, if you did that one thing, then things been putting it off, you've been putting it off, in your own personal life, because everything's cross-contextual. In your business, what's the one thing, if you did that one thing, that everything would shift. So that's another thing I just like to add.
And there's a lot of thought process that needs to go into to make that one decision.
Yeah.
Alicia, did you want to share a client experience?
I just
you don't have to, but
no, I will. I just wanted to say that goals for every person is different, okay? And you have, like you said, financial freedom goals, and essentially everybody wants to be financially free. But what could be very easy for me could be extremely difficult for Zishan, or vice versa, okay? And sometimes for somebody to reach a goal, it might seem like absolutely nothing to someone else. So one of the ladies that I'm coaching at the moment, for her, she is looking for the right life partner. She came to me because she wants Mr. Right, okay? I did warn her that he comes normally with, a lot of a lot of responsibility to have Mr. Right in your life. And she also wanted to change jobs, and both of those things are actually quite big things. And what we realized on her journey, or what I hope I have made her realize on her journey, is that it's not only about the two goals, it's about gradually making all those little changes in between that would actually help you to get to that goal, and being committed to it. So in terms of jobs, we started with really tiny, small steps. She didn't really have a lot of confidence in many areas, and for her just to approach her manager to actually ask to get a half a day off in a week was a huge thing, and we actually worked on it for weeks. And for somebody else, you might not even have to think about it twice to go up to a manager to ask for a raise or to ask for a day off. And in terms of the dating aspect of it, we are still working on her building up the courage to actually have courage to go to a meetup meeting and go on her own and mingle with a few strangers there. Whereas for people like us, we network and meet with strangers every day. And all I'm saying is that when you set hairy, audacious goals, that goal could be as simple as having to mix with strangers but still feeling confident.
Wow, fabulous. I think we've addressed this case study pretty well. Does anyone have any questions for the panel? James, I think we've already mentioned James like 6 times today. But
No. Yes, I do, and that is in the context of goals. So I really, really enjoy what I do. I have a strong sense of purpose about what I do. Okay? In that context, purpose has no end. I will keep doing it as long as I possibly can. Do I need goals in that context? Are goals necessary?
I think, James, that the concept the concept that you're talking about, in essence, is probably the benefits of having achieved goals along the way. I think you're in the flow, as Ahmed was talking about. You're in a good position because you've done what you've done, and now you're benefiting from the seeds that you've planted and put manure on. I think that personally that's where I'd be with thinking that.
So James, also asking yourself, are you in your comfort zone? Are you in your growth zone? If you feel fulfilled here, in your heart, with all areas of your life, in your relationships, in your finances, you love what you do, there's a spiritual journey there, your body, your physical fitness, your mind. If you look at that holistic approach and say, well, do you feel fulfilled? Are you in your growth zone or are you in your comfort zone? And if you're in a space where you think, well, everything's okay, but you're not growing, the two human needs for the spirit are growth and contribution, to grow beyond yourself. I know it's a rhetorical question. So maybe there's a goal, the goals, raise the bar a little bit, especially if they take you out of your comfort zone into your growth zone.
So that implies there's something wrong with where I'm at.
Absolutely not.
And if there isn't, well, why would I need to? That's the point.
Yeah. So if you're in your flow, maybe you're achieving on the way. You don't actually you may be setting goals anyway. You getting things done. Little steps like spending time with your kids, if you have children, I'm assuming, or having time in your business. If you guys want to add in.
I just sort of feel that sometimes, currently I would think that in the career that I'm doing, I am in flow. And there were definitely times in my life where I was in jobs where I definitely wasn't in flow. The point is really for me, even now in flow, I constantly think about new things I want to learn, new skills I want to master, something else, like a bigger project I want to get involved in, maybe a cause that I want to go for. So maybe I'm not understanding your question correctly, but for me, although I am in flow, I constantly think about new things and other things that I want to do, and I see them as goals for me. So the moment I realize that I have a new skill that I want to master, that is a goal for me to do that. Or if I set my sights on contributing to a specific charity, the moment I start thinking about how can I contribute, how can I help to make a difference, who can I collaborate with to make this happen, for me personally, that is a goal. I don't know if that helps.
There's a few different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
I guess one is having to set goals way ahead of yourself. Okay, implies that, again, there's something wrong with me, okay? And in order for me to be fixed, I have to achieve a certain goal. That's one way of looking at it. Another one is that sense of purpose that we talked about earlier. So it depends on the context, I suppose.
I don't believe there's anything wrong with anyone. I think we all move at our own pace. I think there's nothing to be fixed. There are sometimes things to be improved upon, but essentially we are perfect. We are imperfectly perfect as we are here today. That's what I
But
believe.
we're coming back to beliefs then, aren't we? It's up to the individual has their own beliefs about themselves. And if their belief is, I'm not good enough,
Yep.
etc., then it's real to them.
Yep.
Correct.
There is a problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
you and I look at it differently.
Yeah. Then it's a mindset belief, and then maybe,
Yeah.
speak to someone about that.
So in the mind-body connection, for example, my wife is not a goal setter or a planner. So whereas I'm the opposite. So in our relationship, I was like, what is it with you? What is it you don't get about planning? You got to set goals. You got to, because I'm speaking my language because that's the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from, but she achieves a lot in her life. Her flow is being very present, and she just gets on with it, And it's not a sign of being, everyone is magnificent within. So wherever you're at, if you feel great inside, you feel good here, then you're good. I think that's really the key, because I can't tell you, what to do or what not to do. Coaches are there just to guide people, and they say, you know what, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, and we can support you with that. But really, the true test is how do you feel in your heart. If you feel fulfilled, you're in a great place, buddy. Yeah.
I don't know if you agree, but there's unconscious goals. There are things that we do because we want to achieve something, but we haven't addressed it. You being here today itself has something to do with that goal of achieving something else, of meeting someone or whatever it may be. I'm just saying, this unconscious goals, from my perspective, I'm not an expert at any of the goal setting things.
That's what I find myself doing.
Well, you definitely are an expert at achieving goals.
I'll try. Does anyone have any questions? Karen?
Yeah, in regards to this whole thing about having a support group and support people, and I'm kind of interested in finding out how to not eliminate per se, but kind of restrict the naysayers and the people that have great ideas for your business or for your life, what you should and shouldn't do, and how you can kind of grow better relationships with your actual peers, and maybe even having some kind of support group where you could together help one another. And I'm very interested in finding out how I could build that for myself. And if you've got some tips and ideas for that.
I've got a point. I know you guys will definitely have more to add than what I can at the moment on that one. But the term naysayers, I'm attaching somewhat of a negative prospect to it. But in my space, in my coaching and in my business, fundamentally, if someone has an opinion, it's there to be thought about, processed, and either used or thrown away. That's how I look at it. There was a great YouTube clip. Again, I bring it back to basketball. A great YouTube clip which I've used in the office, and it's Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame induction speech. It goes for about 20 minutes. If you can find it on YouTube, it's fantastic. He's invited people to this audience, about $1,000 a ticket he's paid for everybody to turn up. And he's named everyone from his mum and dad to his siblings, to his coaches, to his teammates, to journalists and anybody else that were naysayers in his career. And he talks about how he used their naysayers or their words as fuel for his fire. And I think that it can't be discouraged is about how you choose to use the information that you're presented with. There's been a lot of studies also talking about you are the average of the 5 closest people in your life. I think that holds a lot of water. So who you choose to spend time with is important. What you choose to take on board from other people in your life is also extremely important. And it really comes down to a very committed approach to your own well-being and choice of happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you label a naysayer because they're challenging you. And when they challenge you, it takes you out of your comfort zone. So now you just label them. So really it's a balance between getting the environment right, but also when there's people who challenge you, are you labeling them, or actually are they holding you to a high standard? I think there's a difference too. But obviously, like you were saying, when people say, my own example, and say, don't go to Australia, it's this, it's that, and people who move back from Australia giving me their story, you got to be careful what you buy into. So on that road, on the yellow brick road to see the wizard, you know, on one side you're going to have the people who are going to say yay, you know, and others go nay. So it's really, at the end of the day, you've got to make a decision, and a decision comes from incision. So and you know, it's like, are you all in? You know, once you if you're on an aeroplane and you jump and you kind of about to jump, but you sit back down, you're not all in. So many people set goals and then they sit back down, but when you jump, you're all in, because there's no way you're going to sit back down again. You know, and I think that's the commitment. And
Well,
talk about.
then you're obviously the pig.
Yeah, that's right. And the pig.
And when you talk about decisions, and again, you know, I've talked about this a lot. I don't fundamentally believe there's anything other than jumping off a cliff or running in front of a bus that is a decision that can't be undone by reevaluating it. You know, and I turn around and say to people all the time, there's no such thing as the wrong decision. There's just decisions to be made, and either new learning to evolve or repeated learning of things that you haven't learned in your past properly. And when you can let go of the fear around making a decision and apply courage, okay, to your thought process and to your forward steps, then I think you start to enhance your momentum and your flow.
I just quickly wanted to say on actually forming the little support group for you. Firstly, I would be extremely clear about what I want. That would be my first step, to actually sit and write down what is it that I exactly want from this support group of mine. Because if you're not clear about what you want, you won't even recognize it when it stands right in front of you. Then there's a huge power of masterminding, where, you know, 2 or more people come together and brainstorm and throw ideas around and all of that. And I have been part of a mastermind, various sorts of masterminds in my life before, and they were very beneficial to me. So my advice would be to maybe look for existing masterminds and slot in with them. But again, you need to feel the energy of those people. You need to feel if this is the sort of people that you can really want to mix with, and if they are sort of really the people that can help you and push forward and reach the goals, because you're now clear about what you want. Also, alternatively, these days it's so easy to go onto Meetup and to create your own group. So if you know a few people, I would look at peers that I respect and that's with me on the same path going forward. And I would also possibly look at people that I admire or that I would want to be like. And there's nothing preventing you from starting a meetup group. Just go on and do it today. No pressure. And so just go on, create the group, invite a few people, see who comes along, weed out the ones that you don't want, and create your own mastermind group. Each month you pick a topic, you discuss that topic, people come around. If it's a small group, everybody talks about the challenges in their business. And especially in marketing, what I see a lot is that Zishan and I have been doing marketing workshops for the Small Business Centre, for Business Station now. And what we see is that people are exceptional at telling other people what to do. They have immense clarity as to what you're supposed to be doing in your business. And so when we sit around in these marketing workshops, people can come up with ideas just like this for your business, to help you market it, to help you grow it. But when it's their own turn, it's like, I'm a blank. I don't know what to do in my business. So my suggestion would be start a bit of a mastermind group, invite people you admire, invite peers, and sort of see what comes of it.
Great goal.
Perfect. I think we've gone over time, but does anyone have any more questions? Or at the end,
ask one last question.
The goal.
I would love to know, what's the process that you guys go through with people so they really clarify that white hot desire that just makes hard work easy?
I think Alicia touched on it, and it's something that I know I've spoken to Zishan about, and it's identifying your why. If you can go through the process to identify
that process.
Yeah, and there are processes around. Happy to obviously to put you in touch with what I've used.
Great.
But there is a process of identifying your why and then clarifying your what's and your hows, because as Simon Sinek talks about, and he's a genius
Start with
marketer.
Why.
Start with Why. Great book, and he's a marketing background and an absolute genius. And he's helped me change the way I look at things, and has provided some great commentary around that.
That's a profound book.
Yeah, beautiful.
I've seen him on TikTok.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's right.
I met him in America in April this year. I stood in a queue for an hour to get my book signed, but it was worth it.
Worth it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, panelists.
Cheers, Ed.
Thank you,
We'll see you
Thanks,
again
Thank
next
you.
month. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.